All right, now that you are finished with our bell ringer, let's turn to page 7 in your packets. And on page 7, it's going to look like this. And so today's lesson is about combining like terms. We're going to look at different types of terms, what terms are, what coefficients are, what constants are. So the first thing we need to really identify is when I say terms. Okay, before we know what different parts there are, we need to know what a term is. So terms are things that are separated by plus or minus signs. So each thing that I highlighted here in yellow, those are terms. So the next thing we're going to look at are variable terms. So these are the terms within this expression that have a variable on it. So a variable is the letter. So here I have 7x, here I have a negative 5x, and a 4x. So we're going to write those right here. I have 7x, negative 5x, and 4x. Next thing, we're going to talk about coefficients. So coefficients are the numbers next to the variables. So in this case, we're going to look at these terms that have the variables, and we're going to look at the number that's directly in front of those. So in this case, I have 7, negative 5, and 4. Next thing, constants. So constants are those just numbers. They do not have any variables at all whatsoever. So in this situation, I have 3, 8, and negative 1. If there is a negative there, you want to keep the negative with it. So 3, 8, and negative 1. All right, as we move on down, so this is the main part of vocabulary that we're going to be working with today. So let's look on down at combining like terms. So you can simplify an algebraic expression by combining the like terms. This means to combine common variable terms and constant terms. So we have the same expression that we just had up there. And so notice up at the top, I highlighted those green ones here. Those were our variable terms. So we're going to look at those variable terms. So in this situation, all of my variable terms have the exact same letter. It's an X, X, and X. So since I have the exact same letter, what you're going to do is just add or subtract the coefficients, whatever it says. So 7 minus 5 is 2, and 2 plus 4 is 6. So I have 6x. And now I want to go and look at my constants. Constants are always going to be the last thing that we do. So when I look at my constants here, I have 3 plus 8, which is 11, and then minus 1. So 11 minus 1 would give me a positive 10. So here is all of my like terms simplified into the smallest expression of 6x plus 10. Now, before we move on any farther, to know whether you have this information or not, whether you understand it and grasp it, we're going to do a small activity. Expression, can you compare apples and oranges? No? All right. Well, when we talk about apples and oranges, an apple tree can't grow oranges, so oranges cannot be on that. Oranges cannot be on a pear tree or things like that. So they have to be the same. So all oranges are going to be on an orange tree. All apples are going to be on an apple tree. Pears are going to be on a pear tree. Plums are going to be on plums. All right, so when we look at this, you have y's, x squared, z's, and 8. So these 8's are going to be your constants. So I'm going to give you this. I'm going to pass it out, and we're going to take just a couple minutes. And we're going to fill this out. So these are the different terms that we have in here, and you're going to put them on the correct tree. Okay? All right, now that everybody has their paper, I'm going to put a timer up on the board. Let's say we're going to do 2 minutes. Okay, so we're going to get with our shoulder partner. So these 2 rows, it's the person beside you. These 2 rows, it's the person beside you. And these 2 rows over here, it's going to be the person beside you. So what I'd like for you to do, I want you and your partner to compare your trees. Okay, before you do that, one part of the description here did not mention anything about the unused terms. So I want you to go through and I want you to circle any of the terms in the middle that you did not use as you compare answers with your partner. Go ahead and do that. All right, as you finish up with your partner, look at the trees up here on the board and make sure that you have the same in each tree. Notice the XY does not go on any of the trees because they're not like terms. Yes, I have a Y here, but it has to be an XY in order for it to be like terms. There are no Y to the 3rd power or Y cubes. It's just a single Y. And there are no trees that have an X on them. I have an X squared, but not a single X. So these are the 4 that do not get used anywhere on those trees. All right, number 14. Now I have all kinds of different letters and variables here. So alphabetical order, highest exponent to lowest exponent. So my highest exponent is these X squareds. Well, I only have that, and I have a Y squared. But which one are we going to do first? X's. Okay, so when I do my X's, there are no other X squared. So I'm just going to drop that down here. Now I have to finish all of my X's before I go to my Y's. Okay, so I've got my X squareds. Do I have some single X's here? None that's by themselves, but see how this one is with a Y? We're going to go ahead and take care of anything that's got an X in it before I go to the Y's. So these two are considered like terms because I have 2 and a 7, and they're both X, Y. So 2 minus 7 gives me negative 5 X, Y. I've taken care of all the X's, so now I need to look at just the Y's. And here I have this 4Y squared on the end, so I'm just going to add it right there on the end. Okay, number 15 and 16. I'm going to give you just maybe a minute. Let's do a minute. And let's do 15 and 16, and then we're going to share our answers. Okay, so 1 minute. All right, I see a few still working, so take just a few more seconds and finish up those 2. All right, stand up. All right, you and your shoulder partner are going to compare your answers. You can only sit down once you and your shoulder partners have the exact same answer for both problems. Make sure you do alphabetical order, highest exponent to lowest exponent. Get together with your partner and share your answers.